Joining us now is Arizona Senator and former GOP presidential nominee John McCain. Senator, thanks for joining the John Fredericks Show, Common Sense for the Commonwealth, broadcasting every day from the nation's capital.
Thank you, John. Good to be back with you.
Well, you know, Senator, we're always honored to have you on. You are the authentic Straight Talk Express, and just want to let you know that I endorsed your candidacy both in 2000 and 2008, so I figured we'd start there.
Well, we'll start with you backing a loser. After I lost, I often say I slept like a baby, sleep 2 hours, wake up and cry, sleep 2 hours, wake up and cry. But thanks, John.
Okay, Senator. Why don't we go right to Mitt Romney's foreign policy speech Monday at VMI. Do you have a reaction to that?
A very strong speech emphasizing the need for American leadership and that he can provide it, and pointing out many of the national security and foreign policy failures of this administration. I guess we couldn't have expected too much more from a president whose only experience was as a community activist, and whose only time I remember was when he was adamant in saying that the surge wouldn't work in Iraq. But it's been a feckless foreign policy, and I'm pleased the way that Mitt made a case again for American leadership, the same way Ronald Reagan did when he was running against Jimmy Carter.
Right. Now, Senator, do you believe there is a potential administration cover-up regarding the Libyan situation, the assassination of our ambassador and 3 diplomats?
Well, what is incomprehensible and impossible to explain is 5 days after the tragic deaths of these 4 brave Americans, they trotted out the UN ambassador on every major news Sunday program in America, and she stated unequivocally that this was a result of a spontaneous demonstration caused by a hateful video. Now, John, that's 5 days later. Within hours, we knew that rocket-propelled grenades and mortars were used in a very sophisticated military attack. Now, the question has to be asked, why? Why in the world would they trot out 5 days later and say something that idiotic? It was either willful ignorance or a desire to deceive the American people as to this cause, because the president, of course, is painting this scenario because he got bin Laden that everything is fine. In fact, Al-Qaeda's on the way back in Iraq, in northern Africa, AQIM, and they're now coming into Syria in very large numbers, because this whole conflict plays out without us helping the people who are trying to get free of Bashar Assad. Obviously, the Iranians continue on their path to nuclear weapons, and all we do is tell the Israelis not to attack Iran, which I'm sure kind of signal that sends to Iran. And, of course, in Afghanistan, it's all unraveling because the president has overruled the advice of his military leaders, and now we have this terrible Afghans in uniform killing Americans in uniform. All this president does is talk about dates for withdrawal. He never talks about a successful strategy, and I'm telling you, we're paying a very heavy price for it.
Senator, right now, when you look at the facts, as you brought them up in Afghanistan, what is the answer there? What should we do?
Well, we ought to evaluate whether this strategy is succeeding or not. And I'm not so much talking about a date for withdrawal, but whether we should not beef up our troops in the short time to get control of the eastern part of Afghanistan, which we never did. John, you and I know that Americans are war-weary. They want out of everywhere. They wanted out of Korea when Harry Truman was the President of the United States, yet he stuck there. And I think history shows that if we'd have withdrawn from Korea, the world might be a very different place today. But we need leaders who will lead. This president believes in leading from behind. And by the way, in Iraq, we were supposed to leave a residual force. The president had committed to it of some 20,000 there. We didn't, because he wanted us out And the answer, John, ended up with Iraq unraveling now as we speak, with al-Qaeda making a significant comeback. You know what's so sad about that? We lost over 4,000 brave Americans. In the words of General Keane, the architect of the surge, we won the war and we lose the peace.
Now, Senator, you've repeatedly and very passionately called for the United States to provide additional aid, weapons to the Syrian, let's call them anti-Assad forces.
Okay.
But there's no national interest at stake for the United States. Why do you think we need to get involved in that?
Let me say, first of all, General Mattis, who is our head of Central Command, said that the fall of Bashar al-Assad would be the greatest blow to Iran in 25 years. They are. It would cut them from Hezbollah in Lebanon. It would be the last client state that the Iranians have, and it would have huge impact on the Iranians. Second of all, we didn't go to Bosnia because there was a threat to America's national security. We didn't go to Kosovo to do anything but keep Muslims from being slaughtered. We wish we could have stopped the 800,000 people who were massacred in Rwanda. But in this case, our national security interests are clearly involved in seeing Bashar Assad go. But let's say that, but also, John, it's not in America's DNA to sit by and watch 30,000 people being massacred, children tortured, women gang raped as a matter of national policy by Bashar Assad, and not at least provide them with weapons with which to defend themselves. That's the outrage here. Meanwhile, Iranian aircraft are flying over Iraq with weapons. The Russians are pouring weapons in. And the Iranians have admitted that they have Iranians on the ground in Syria killing people. So, and here we watch. Is that the role of America? And I do not mean boots on the ground. The American people will not and should not want boots on the ground in Syria.
Senator, do you worry that perhaps the Iranian government wants us embroiled in the Syrian crisis so they can rally their own backers there?
Not if we supply arms and had a no-fly zone. Look, right now, everything that we said would happen, that this administration said would happen if we got involved, have happened because we didn't get involved. There's now tensions between Turkey and Syria that it could lead to conflict. Thousands of refugees have poured into Jordan and Lebanon, destabilizing situations there. The al-Qaeda types and individuals are flowing into Syria in greater numbers, and of course the death toll continues on up, and many of them innocent people, men, women, and children. Where is our national conscience?
So, Senator, do you feel that a President Romney would take a very different approach towards Syria, and would it more align to what you've just advocated?
Yes, I have advocated more than Governor Romney has, but I'm confident that he would help facilitate the supply of arms and weapons into Syria. And by the way, a fundamental difference: President of the United States, Barack Obama, totally lacked any experience whatsoever when he came to the presidency. Wants to lead from behind, likes to apologize for America as he did in Cairo. Won't speak up for people that are struggling for freedom. This is like the difference between Ronald Reagan and Jimmy Carter.
Okay, on that final quotation, Senator, I really want to thank you for joining us, Senator, as always, on the John Fredericks Show. We appreciate the time, and we appreciate your service to the United States.
Thank you, John, and I want all our veterans who are listening, if you don't vote, I'm going to court-martial you.
Okay. Senator John McCain, have a great day, Senator. Thanks again.
Thanks, John.